So it's taken me a little bit longer to get a video up than I intended, but I'm finally back with another one for you. And I thought that I was going to be done in the last video with the samurai and test of honor would be enough. Turns out it wasn't, so let's dive back in. Well then, let's get started with these minis, and to start this project I thought I would do some 10mm Ashigaru. Specifically the Ashigaru matchlock rifles, or Ashigaru Teppo, as you may have heard them referred to in the past. For this project I knew that I wanted to do quite a lot of these minis, and I thought that that could become a little bit expensive if you were to use something like Pendragon's offerings or Irregular Miniature offerings, both companies that I've shown videos for in the past. Do feel free to check them out if you want to after this, but yeah, might be a little bit expensive, so let's maybe try and avoid those and have a look at some 3D printed options today. Spending a little bit of time searching around on my mini factory, I wasn't able to find any 10mm models specifically, but I did find this seller, Small Miniatures, who did a campaign a couple of years ago now for 15mm models, and other than the size, they're pretty much spot on. You'll get a little bit of everything. You get spearmen, bowmen, rifles, you get samurai, you get Ashigaru, even have Koreans if you wanted to do the wars between Hideyoshi and his attempted invasion of the mainland. With these, it was just a case of scaling them down to 2/3 to get them down to the 10mm scale. I did also as well decide to put these bases on them. Just gives it a little bit more of a contact point for gluing them onto the bases and onto the painting handles. I won't show you in this video how I actually did that, although if it might be something that is of interest to you, I would be happy to do that video, and let me know down in the comments below. Well, looking at how I was going to actually get these painted, I did spend a good bit of time researching into these. The main source here was the Osprey books with Stephen Turnbull. They're not amazingly in-depth books, but they're not terrible, and in particular the images in them are actually really nice. You can also find a lot of inspiration discussing the subject of Ashigaru on YouTube as well. I would personally recommend a channel called The Shogunate. If you haven't heard of him, definitely go and check him out after this video as well. And all of these were really telling me the same thing, which is that movie and game depictions of samurai era warfare is wrong. People didn't wear the same coloured armour across the entire army. There wasn't, rows upon rows upon rows of Takeda forces that were all wearing bright red, or rows upon rows of Oda forces all wearing bright yellow. That just didn't happen. There wasn't that standardisation. And how you worked out who was on your side in a battle was through banners. So that could be what are called sashimono, that are on somebody's back, or banners that are carried as might be seen in other parts of the world. That's what I decided to go for, to how to identify units. I will show that, however, in another video. I do have a pretty creative way, I think, of making these units as modular as possible and being able to use for any clan. So to meet that of being any clan, I decided to go for the most common colours that you would expect to see in armour in the era from what I've been able to find, which would be your more natural colours, so your blacks, your browns and your reds. I suspect also they're probably the cheapest dyes or paints as well, which may have something to do with why they were so common. I did decide to use the zenithal and the airbrush to get this all set up, although I didn't do my typical black zenithal, white highlight. Instead I did it in the actual colours that the main armour plates were going to be. So dark brown with a light brown on top for the brown armour, and then some with a dark terracotta with then bright red zenithal from above, and then some black with a medium grey over the top. Pretty simple, and a nice way to add in that zenithal, but also not add in an extra step at the same time. Now for the cloth, I did decide to do these a little bit different as well. I went through and added at least one piece of leathery brown on every single one of the miniatures. So that might be one gets, trousers, the next one gets top, next one after that might get top, and then the next one after that might get trousers. Try and mix it up. Don't keep it to a 1-to-1 ratio, and just kind of mix and match as best you can to show a little bit of extra randomness. For the bits that I didn't paint in leather, I instead decided to go for a nice pale bright colour. And that could be a bright blue, bright green, or a kind of bright peachy, almost skin colour. And again, just mix and match, put it anywhere where there wasn't already brown's been painted, but try not to keep to too much of a uniform, this colour on this one, then this colour on this one, and then this colour on this one. That then starts to look a little bit formulaic when you look at it over the entire unit. And for the skin on these models, I did decide to keep with the usual tanned flesh colour that I've been using for my Mongols and my Chinese, finding that I'm having really good results with it, and a brown wash. So don't break, don't try and fix what ain't broke type thing really. And then I went in and picked out some details on the weapons themselves. So that's just a brown for the wood, a nice bright metal for the actual barrels of the guns. These minis have a wick or a rope that's used in the firing mechanism that's quite long, does wrap around the arm as well. And so I did decide to pick out that little detail. I just picked that out with, an off-white, then we'll go over that in the wash step and that'll pick out the details quite nicely. With that mentioned, the next step is indeed that wash step. Now for these minis, I decided that normally I might try and do a black and a brown on the minis, so the black armour, the blue shirts, blue trousers, they might have typically gotten a black wash, everything else would get a brown wash, but I wanted to see how it would look if I just did a brown wash over the entire mini. Now obviously the usual thing of being careful not to let them pull too much. In particular, I would recommend on the sort of conical shaped helmets, the Jingasa, definitely put a little bit on, but do make sure to wick away any pulls on those. It does seem to be a perfect sort of shape for that pooling to occur, and when it's on top of the models, it's really not going to look very nice. So be careful of that one. But other than that, everything else got a brown wash. I was a little bit worried that that wouldn't work over the black armor and things, but actually not bad. I think that that's probably a combination between the whole, it's just a smaller scale, and also that pre-zenithal that I'd already done on the armor. I think that combination of those two means that actually a black or a brown at the scale doesn't really matter too much. So I always say in my videos that you could leave it generally at this point and it would look great, but then I always do go in and I add in some extra highlights and bring everything back up to the base colours and a little bit brighter and all that. And so today I thought it might be quite nice to show you that when I say that you can leave them at this point and they'll look good, that's actually true. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. Let the wash dry and we're good to go. I just need to paint in the bases in an earthy brown colour and then get them based, and that's the minis done, to be perfectly honest. Now I did mention earlier on though that they used banners to identify what units were part of what army, and I haven't actually covered that yet. Now you may be able to notice that they actually do seem to have a magnet in the base. That'll probably give you a pretty good clue as to what it is that I'm planning to do to address that problem. But that's a story for another video, and let's just say it is really, I'm quite proud of it, to be perfectly honest, and it will allow me to use these models as either Oda, Tokugawa, Takeda, Uesugi, whatever you want. If you do want to see how exactly I go about doing that, do be sure to subscribe and keep an eye out. That new video should be coming within the next week or so. Well, there you go. That is 2 units of Ashigaru Teppo all sorted and painted up, ready to go. There is another video that will be coming out in short order, which will cover about the standard bearers. Now, I am thinking of expanding this army out to, well, 2 full armies and playing a little bit of a game with these. If that is something that you would like to see, do feel free, let me know down in the comments down below. And as always, if you did enjoy the video, do consider hitting that subscribe button. It does help the channel out massively. I've been Brett, and I'll see you next time.